BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and I swear every time I've talked about tokusatsu lately on this channel, it just feels like I've been calling out people who just crap and shit on women. Which, considering the second to last time was about idiots claiming women can't be physically involved in fighting human traffickers and then harassing a content creator who pointed this out, then the actual last time is calling out bad faith criticism who was mad women involved in a 50-year-old franchise wanted to and were allowed to reprise their roles in said 50-year franchise for a spin-off installment, and grown men on the internet hitting a female character so much that they falsely accused a 16, now 17-year-old minor who did nothing wrong, but yet had claims of doing sexual modeling and only getting her role not by merit, but by sleeping with the producer, despite the fact that the people who hired her changed the role from her being an older character to a younger character because they like Rayo's performance in spite of her age. Safe to say, I think I'm a little bit valid to point out this behavior is happening, and anyone calling me a moral police for questioning why we're normalizing sexual harassment, bullying, dogpiling, and spreading misinformation just because a story or plot line they don't like is going on, really need to consider who they're getting mad at and why. And now the Maya Inamori situation happened, which somehow managed to combine almost every action I've criticized from the community, this time coming from the people who are supposed to be protecting her as well as the company who hired her. I'm not pulling my punches with this one. Maya Inamori deserved better from the agency that didn't give a rat's behind to protect her from the abuse of tabloids, false rumors, and attacks based on her ethnicity and appearance, and from Toei for firing her instead of trying to protect her client to the point that they scrubbed any of her physical appearance in recent episodes, and most likely plan to erase her from the final act of the show. And I know you guys are going to type Maya deserved better in the comment section because holy crap, she does. To make a long story short, Maya Inamori was fired for drinking. The legal age of drinking in Japan is 20, and she was 19 years old. I believe she's only 3 to 4 months away from becoming 20. So clearly this is coming from someone whose cultural experience is semi-different. However, not only was this completely firing her instead of just giving her a warning not to do so again by Toei, her agency in Seju did not do anything to try to remedy the situation with her regarding the fact that she was basically being harassed thanks to being mixed Filipino Japanese, is still facing accusations by gossip tabloid Bushin from allegations that she had an affair with members of the Japanese national soccer team even after she got fired, even after claiming she had an affair with the sued actor behind Gozyuger Red's fighting performance, Kosei Asai. And if I could speculate, likely to add fuel or controversy regarding Kosuke retiring from his chronic illness. There's been no evidence, photographs, or proof of anything released to the public to warrant these rumors, yet she's been slut-shamed and prejudiced by Western and American critics alike. Regarding the fact she's Filipina, mixed-race people aren't always seen in a positive light in Japan, though that's not anything uncommon for people who live in America. When Hollywood Arts got announced, people pointed out that there weren't any black women in the cast, besides Helen, but, main characters, and people joked it was just like the original Victorious. Then someone pointed out they were supporting black women, even though they only appeared for an episode, but they said that she doesn't count because they're biracial, even though being biracial also means you're at least 50% black. And Japanese media has explored this too. Persona 5 and Ann Tamaki being 3/4 Japanese and I believe 1/4 American, and was slut-shamed because of the blonde hair, blue eyes, and unique features she got from her American grandparent, and a predatory volleyball coach tries to use her friend's status on the team for leverage to assault her. And yes, being mixed in Japan will get you reactions like, she's Filipina, that's why she's cheap. Yeah, that's not racist or prejudice at all. Credit to Foul Plays YT for this. Not to mention, there's a rising mixed-race Japanese population in Japan, which Lexicon's website reaches a tribute to American troops occupying Japan, having mixed babies back in after World War II, who ended up facing widespread discrimination, treated terribly because they were considered konketsuji, aka mixed blood children, a reminder of Japan's loss in World War II, and seeing as tainting their blood, with the fear of mixed blood kids in Japan taking over the population. Kotaro Abe, who's not African but Japanese from Whistle, is a dark-skinned player in the Tohoku district where he was bullied, and I guess you can tell why he was bullied, but thanks to showing people, hey, I'm super good at soccer, no, seriously, read volume 20 of Whistle, he put in the work and they became his friends. Not to say that it's fair that for mixed and marginalized groups to be treated equally, they should have to push themselves and prove themselves to people with the same nationality. But considering in one panel people mocked him and claim he's only good because he's African, and the idea of certain people having non-human genes that aren't light-skinned are suspect at best and playing to toxic ideas of genetics at worst, While he is an antagonist, that's only on the virtue that he's just a strong soccer player who, underneath that confidence, is low-key insecure from his years of being bullied and ostracized for his differences. That at the end of the day, he is still human and Japanese, which is very notable for a manga that had the storyline between 1999 and 2000 to come out and present in a respectful manner. He was just a human that pushed himself and wanted friends, and not to be treated negatively for being born slightly differently, even though he was the same nationality of literally everyone else within the manga, which I appreciate the mangaka for actually trying to explore. In fact, here are some other lovely comments from Japanese fans going, I heard a girl like this had an affair with a 30, 40-year-old geezer, and it made me smash my smartphone. No, I'm not saying it's definitely not impossible that a younger woman can manipulate and take advantage of an older person for sexual reasons, but you need a lot more supportive evidence to back up those claims. Plus, it's entirely possible that a person who's around the age of 40 is more likely to be grooming a 19-year-old, which, similar to the false accusations made against Rio by a certain Western fan, that would make both of them victims of abuse and power dynamics in the media industry, something I hope isn't the case since there's no evidence to support either one. I used to think that she was such a cute girl back in the day, but she's grown up in a disappointing way, huh? People who are in the entertainment industry from a young age just don't have any common sense, right? Translation: I thought she was cute, but then she had a bear when she was a couple of months underage, and I was repulsed. And now I think her career being ruined by misinformation and false accusations based on misogyny, racism, and bigotry is great. Then we have, I don't think she can go back to showbiz. I don't mind if you want to live as an ordinary person. Well, if she offers her sexy body in a video, that's fine too. Hurry up and show me your tits, damn it. Boy, if you want tits, there's a forest where you can find the birds. I believe it's called the Perus Minor. If you become an AV actress, you become a legend. Again, maybe someone shouldn't have to resort to porn, especially if they're coming from being exiled and harassed in the acting industry without any valid evidence and then dropped, or something that could easily be dropped or have proper consultation over. And please do not do this. Well, Power Rangers doesn't treat its female cast that bad. Because while I admit there hasn't been any controversy towards women that bad, let's not forget Sunday Love of America's Next Top Model applied for Power Rangers Megaforce and was rejected because they already casted a black guy and questioned why they couldn't cast a black girl too. Why is race an issue? Valid. Zoe Robin's character was never given a solo focus other than her own season that didn't have a guest star compared to the rest of the co-stars unless it involved around her character's boyfriend who routinely got more focus, mistreated her character, and even in the finale where she has to save him from his mistake, she's the one that gets called overreacting. Tui Trang, the first American Yellow Ranger, broke down in tears after she advocated to Hype Saban with her co-stars to be paid since they were being exploited for minimum wage for over 12 hours while millions of dollars went to the higher-ups, and all three of them were fired. Karan Ashley wasn't giving a proper farewell with the rest of the cast and wasn't told until the last episode. Patricia Jarlee never got the insurance for her stunt injuries and had to drive herself to the hospital since the staff refused to stop shooting until they were done. And I'm not saying that Power Rangers hasn't tried to protect this female's cast. Paying Valerie Vernon for her time while she recovered from leukemia is one of the sweetest aspects of a producer protecting their actors, though that doesn't excuse David Yost and Kayla Bennett from being mistreated by their seasons higher up for either being gay or presenting a character as gay, though at the very least, Yost got an apology. But this is another sign on the end of the entertainment industry just not respecting its workers, and regardless of what the tokusatsu is, and regardless of what hemisphere is coming from, companies and agencies should do anything to protect their clients, especially Maya. If Toei and Seju really cared about helping her, either they could have buried it, do what Disney did with Gina Carano and warn her to chill out and not do it again, actively try to stop her from doing this, and there was no reason for them to make this go public unless they wanted to make an example. At least if they did this and she messed up again, there's talks over abuse or second chances if it was a genuine problem, or getting her the help that she needs. Plus, if she's a quote-unquote minor, despite being above the age of 18, okay, sure, she shouldn't be drinking, but the counter-argument is, when her name was being completely dragged in the mud, why didn't her agency not try to protect her or get any sort of mental help for her or reassurance during that, make sure that the tabloids weren't getting to her? There's, no place for mental health and well-being of actors and actresses. Like, Hikaru Kabushima of Revice had stalkers, and her agency didn't do anything to her, leading her to drop them. Yeah, but you don't think she shouldn't have gotten some punishment? Well, yes and no, because by the laws, underage drinking is bad. And yes, there are various situations where underage drinking can result in worse situations happening. The problem is, we don't know exactly the severity of what she did while she was drinking, since there hasn't been any sites of arrest, people being harmed, and all we know that she was just found with beer. For all we know, she could have just been drinking beer by herself. Look, I'm not saying that no one should break the rules, but all I'm saying is that in a situation where it was something that was not that bad, or the person involved was doing nothing wrong beforehand and was pretty consistent in their behavior, without any proof of their bad elements put to light, maybe we should just be a little bit more lenient on the sentencing. Like, here's actually 2 examples from Japan that I would actually like to share with you all. Back when the fragrant flower community was going into an uproar because of what happened with the spoilers involving the teacher, there was a huge debate about whether or not people are culture shaming or whether or not it's an example of society going way too far and trying to police the actions and consensual behavior of people whose control they have over them is restricted to their careers. Well, I found 2 examples of 2 victims who got justice for what the system put them through. According to Japan Today, a girl sued the Tokyo high school that made her drop out for breaking a no dating rule, which is ironic when you know just how much Japanese entertainment media is filled with teenage romances. But one of the rules was that schools place full bans on students dating even if they're on campus, and they did this to a girl who was only a few months away from graduation. Sounds similar, huh? Well, she sued the managing entity of her high school back in 2021, mostly because the school declared her college university admission invalid, demanded about 7 million yen, which is about $45,000. Personally, I would ask for more, but I'm a greedy piece of crap. And even the lawyer urged the courts to, 1, validate the rule because it's really irrational, and that the girl had like a very good academic performance at school, one that is very well known for having alumni that were pretty well in the entertainment and sports industries. According to Asahi Shimbun, the court did claim that the rule was valid, but they also ruled that it wasn't heinous, and the school could have avoided administering a punishment that was basically a forced expulsion, to the point where the court ruling said that it wasn't a legal judgment that wouldn't be beyond the educational discretion of the school. Less bad was that there was a situation where a woman in Japan won compensation after the teachers repeatedly pressured her to dye her hair black, causing her to drop out of school because they didn't believe that her natural hair color was brown and told her to dye it black, which banned her from attending some classes and school trips, which is like such an abuse of power for no reason. And yes, the court did rule that the school actions were legal, but the student got $3,100 in damages, which at least they agreed that it didn't deserve a psychological toll on her. Even the people in the judicial system recognized the effects of what was going on was way too far, and the punishment was not deserved for both people. So I would expect the same leniency from Maya, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And honestly, if she sues Toei and her agency, I would not blame her. And honestly, I probably wouldn't even have made the video had it not been for the fact that they went out of their way to digitally remove Sumino from episode 37 from almost everything. Any opportunity to have Sumino's face and anything not in the suit as well, to the point it's actually impressive in a creepy way that they're able to edit her out that much. It's still messed up though, since she's banned from all events of the show she stars in. They even resorted to hiring someone to dub over her, and someone leaked the original preview for her being in the next episode, as well as the differences between the preview and the episode where she showed up in, and trying to hide her focus episode when everyone's going to notice how under focus she is in the broadcast, like in bold, in all the worst possible ways. So who should we not blame for this, besides Maya, of course? Let's not blame the writer of the show, Akiko Inoue. Say what you want about Gozyuger and her writing, but she wrote Maya's character to have a storyline and direction that, based on the buzz I've been hearing about, was supposed to reach a proper conclusion, but now the actress won't be on people's screens to portray the role that was given to her, that Akiko worked so hard to create. Let's also not attack the director or producer who was not involved in the firing. Daigo Matsuya is just a Toei producer. He's not part of the higher-ups who decides who gets fired and who gets to stay. Let's also not attack YouTubers pointing out how this is not okay for Maya. Like, why are we making fun of Taka from Kotetsu Toys Japan? Because he can speak English and doesn't sound 100% perfect? He speaks English better than some people I work with, and half of y'all can't even say a sentence without using a curse word every 5 seconds in real life, you xenophobic douchebags. And before anyone accuses me of being xenophobic, I'm calling out abuse of power and refusal to protect employees. I would have done this regardless of where the show is being produced. Let's also not attack any of the alumni who are supporting her either, and pointing out that an agency should be protecting the people they work for, which thank God the Tokusatsu alumni are speaking up about. Let's also not attack the rest of Gozyuger's cast, who are probably bound by their agencies to not say anything, even though we agree someone should stand up to Maya. The same thing that could probably happen to her can most likely happen to them as well. And if I'm going to conclude, I do find it interesting in the fact that some of these shows have the characters develop from being flawed people into ultimately becoming the ideal or completed versions of themselves through completing a character journey that often involves them making mistakes or having to overcome obstacles and hurdles in order to become better people. Yet in this circumstance, the adults who had the opportunity to help Maya through this didn't get involved for God knows how long, and when they did, they denied her of having that character journey herself. Even Kamen Rider Agito's actor himself has pointed out the agency should help and nurture their talent much better, so these contract terminations are less likely to happen for younger talents. So, what happens next? Well, Maya privated her socials, but she's gained at least 100,000 followers over Instagram and Twitter, and Seju, Bushin, and Toei are already getting enough flack for this, so don't focus on the people who caused it. Focus on supporting her. This person named Yukitas on Twitter basically made this. What can we do in order to minimize negative attention and show solidarity with Maya? If you have fan art, edits, clips from scenes you like, or just want to comment your support for Maya or her character Sumino Ichikawa, Gozu Unicorn, post them under the related tag shown in the graphic. So use the hashtag support Maya Inamori, or at least the one in Japanese, Maya's personal tag, and the Japanese Gozyuger tag. For me, all I would add is, like, if you're on AO3 or Wattpad or anything, make fanfics, fan art, use your favorite character moments from her, show support, so at least when she comes back or is ready to speak up, she'll have people who support her. And the rise of hate, show love. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, also type support Maya Imamori. I was actually planning on watching Gozyuger eventually, so my lack of bias towards the show aside is there. And I wouldn't have been working on this at 6 a.m. if I didn't think my voice could help or if I had anything not to say. So, well, we'll see what happens. Anyway, BIP for Art Interest Productions, signing off.